Hi everybody. This semester in class I'm interested in helping you succeed by testing you in various components of Bloom's taxonomy of learning. And Benjamin Bloom came up with a series of learning objectives that he felt represented successful learning. And so there's a base here, which is simply that you remember. And those of you that are used to taking multiple choice quizzes, true and false questions, those sorts of things, that's what that level of Bloom's taxonomy is helping us assess whether or not you understand. The next level is to comprehend. Do you understand what's going on? Okay. Beyond that, we've got apply, analyze, synthesize, that is creating new material, and that's one of the highest levels of Bloom's taxonomy because it shows that not only do you remember information, you're able to apply it and analyze it to create new information. And Bloom's highest level in his taxonomy was to evaluate information. Is this information valuable, not valuable, or somewhere in between? And that supposedly is how you demonstrate to faculty that you really understand all of the material. So this is one of the ways that I've set up my class this semester to help you and help test you on all of these levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So when we have exams, you're going to see some multiple choice true and false questions testing your ability to remember and comprehend. But I'll ask you questions that help you apply information in new situations, such as synthesis, and then to evaluate scientific information, representing the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy. One of the innovations that I'm thinking about for this semester, and we're going to apply in class, is to use what I like to call Ross's other taxonomy for learning. And that's to try to bring a little bit of humor into the classroom. So instead of testing you on rote memorization, scientific information, I want to know if you can help me develop some comedy, some humor, hence ROTFL, and align it with Bloom's taxonomy. So here's what I'm hoping that you'll get out of this. What sort of humor do you think it takes to remember? That's like knock-knock jokes, simple jokes. For example, what do you use to eat DNA spaghetti? A replication fork, of course. So simple, just rote memorization applied in comedy to genetics. Beyond that, we've got mimicry, right? Some things, doing impressions, for example. I'm not going to do an impression right now, but I'm hoping that some of you will choose to use your ability to perform for the class to do some mimicry or some impressions of maybe some interpretive dance of genetics concepts. Then we've got parody, and that's sort of in the apply and analyze situation, where to do really good parody, it requires you to really understand the material and understand what's interesting or funny about it. And that requires you to analyze and to apply information that you've learned in class. Then the synthesis requires maybe punning, one of the highest levels of comedy. It requires a lot of information and cognitive ability to understand what's funny about puns and to develop puns. And finally, the highest level in Ross's other taxonomy for learning, stand-up. If you can take feedback from your audience and say, list some words and make an entire comedy routine out of that to do stand-up. Let's take a look at what's in the news today. Really requires you to evaluate information, to get feedback from the audience and to come up with something new on the spot. Stand up, right? The highest level in Ross's other taxonomy for learning. If you can demonstrate to me that you can incorporate genetics knowledge doing these sorts of comedy routines, that'll be perfect. And so we'll talk more about this in class, how we'll actually go through the semester having you develop comedy in genetics.